Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to my Fallout 4 Mod Spotlight series, where today we are having a look at the T-45x Experimental Light Power Armor mod, which is being released by user MyCart. And what this glorious little piece of work looks to add into the game is a bit of a throwback in terms of power armor, as this mod isn't adding in your typical Fallout 4 exoskeleton style power armor. Instead, it's giving you a bit of a slice of what we had back in Fallout 3 and New Vegas, in terms of this power armor being just, well, normal armor, which you can wear on your body like any others, as you can tell by me just having these on armor racks rather than freestanding power armor here. And these things are quite nice, though I gotta admit, I actually really do love what Bethesda did with power armor in the new game here, but you know, every now and then it's nice to have a little bit of a throwback to previous games, and these are very nicely detailed. They just look magnificent, and will offer you a decent amount of protection, but of course not nearly as much protection as a full proper suit of a Fallout 4 power armor. And so let's take a look at what we do have here on the armor rack, and as you can see here, the name's a bit awkward. The mod calls them T-45x, but in here they're actually labeled as T-45D, but hey, just a small minor detail. And as you can tell, it is broken up into three different pieces. We have the armor, the gloves, and the helmet. Now the armor takes up the same sort of body slot as any vault suit would, and the helmet of course taking up a helmet slot. The gloves though are kind of on their own thing, which you could really mix and match with other pieces of armor if you so desire. But let's take a look at the main body, and yeah, it just looks very good. Lots of great details on this thing, and offering you a decent amount of protection with 75 across the board for physical, electrical, and radiation, plus giving you a little bit of a bonus to charisma and luck, and surprisingly only weighing 2. There's a couple of things in this mod I think probably are still in an early stage, so hopefully they get updated, one of which being the weight. These should really be a lot heavier, but for now, for the pure aesthetics of having the throwback armor, I'm okay with it. Now, as for the gloves here, not nearly as much protection, and the weight makes a lot more sense on these, but protection-wise, we get 10 physical, 5 electrical, and 5 radiation protection. They're just pretty simple black gloves, still giving that charisma and a luck bonus, and weighing 2, which is why I think that the main power armor may not be fully finished yet, considering this weighs as much as the main body. But yeah, hopefully that does get changed in the future. And finally, we have the helmet, also weighing 2, which again makes sense for a helmet, and giving the same resistances as we had for the gloves, with 10 physical, 5 on the electrical, and 5 on the radiation, with 1 plus 2 charisma and luck. So all in all, a good little set of armor. Now I have 2 racks here, and this was to show that there is basically no difference between the male and female body forms. This is a male armor rack, and this is a female style armor rack, and as you can see, well, it's power armor. You really can't tell the difference between the two, which makes complete and total sense. Now, as for how you get your hands on one of these lovely suits, well, it's pretty easy. You just gotta go to any chemistry station in the world, and we have a new category up here, the BZW T-45D, where we can build the armor, gloves, and helmet. Again, something that makes me think this is still kind of in an early release and hopefully will be updated, and the fact that they all require cloth. I would really like for, you know, at least some metal in here somewhere, but still, just for having a little bit of fun with some old school power armor, I'm okay with it, but I do hope this gets updated to something more proper for its requirements in the future. Now, as for the modifications we can add to these, you have a pretty decent list, pretty basic as far as armor goes, in that we have a miscellaneous category for things like deep-pocketed, lighter build, padded, pocketed, ultralight build, insulated, treated, asbestos-resistant, protective, shielded, lead line, dense, biocom mesh, and pneumatic armor, so you can give whatever extra little bits and bobs you want to your armor, and then of course you can add ballistic weave to it up to Mark 5. And an interesting side note, when you do add any form of ballistic weave, believe, it changes the name to Armored in front of the T-45D armor, which is nice because it does show up at the top. Now, another interesting oddity with this is one of those mods. It's got a lot of oddities, which I'm hoping will get fixed, but still, it's an enjoyable, fun thing to kick around with, is the fact that, main body of the armor, like I said, takes up the same slot as something like a vault suit. And because of that, you can actually still pop on other pieces of armor. If I put in my different pieces of Assault Marine armor, well, there they go. Now, amusingly, if you have some nice thin armor that doesn't poke out outside of the power armor, it actually could be quite beneficial of having an extra layer of things, but having any of the bulkier armors like this or the heavy combat armor, well, it's gonna look a little bit awkward. Again, kind of a minor gripe that I hope gets fixed, but it's just something to point out for the time being. So that is something that can change. Now, if you do try and put on a helmet, it takes off the helmet, and same thing if I put on the wetsuit here, it takes off the main body of the armor. But all in all, it is a very fun suit with a lot of great details, and actually something I didn't point out earlier, you can in fact see through the glass in the helmet to our face. It's kind of hard to see here, and it may be more difficult with YouTube compression, but it's just a nice little extra added feature that I think is pretty cool. So overall, a fun little mod. Definitely does still need some work, a few minor things here and there, but like I said earlier, I kind of like the throwback to Fallout 3 and New Vegas, and just having a little bit something different from our typical power armor in the game. And thankfully, they're not quite as powerful. In fact, they're a fair amount weaker than normal power armor, just being normal, well, armor. And so I think it's balanced pretty well. So if you would like to take a look at this mod for yourself, which I would certainly recommend you go and do, you can have a look at the link in the description as per usual. But that is going to be it for today, my friends. I hope you all have enjoyed and that you do come back for the next one. Hopefully, we'll be looking at yet another wonderful mod. But until that time, thank you for watching. And as always, have a good one!